Well, originally I asked for $25 million and 6 months to film, and I got, a couple of bucks in 6 weeks.
Fire on anything that moves.
Do the dinosaurs have feathers in your movie?
Yes, the dinosaurs have feathers, and that was something that I wanted to do because of the book.
I'm telling you guys, there's monsters out here.
Can you talk about the sound design of your dinosaurs?
Yeah.
How do you figure out the noises that they're making?
That's a good question.
Full Metal Jacket meets Jurassic Park, highly anticipated with the film. At what point do you realize that you've reached this magic level with the audience now that there's excitement for it?
It's very weird. It's a very weird feeling to reach it, because as an independent filmmaker, you just never know, right? Like, I put up, this is my 7th film, and you put up the trailers online, and it either it gets traction or it doesn't, and most of the time it just kind of just is in the ether of YouTube, and you hope for the best, right? But I think the moment was when we put out our teaser trailer back in April, and suddenly it was like 1 million views in 24 hours, and like we didn't know. We're just, like I said, just an independent filmmakers in Queensland. So you hope, you think, you dream, but there was this feeling on set when we were making it. There was sometimes when you're making films and productions, you get feelings, and sometimes they're like, this isn't very good, and then you watch it and you go, hey, it was actually better than I thought it was, or vice versa. But there was this feeling on set where this was kind of something. And even though it was grungy and it was really hard to make, and we're all in it together as this little group, there was this feeling. So when the trailer hit and people seemed to like what we were doing, it was definitely like, oh, here we go. Right. Here we go.
You said there's that feeling on set, and then when you were watching it back in the dailies, is that just the right story mixed with the right setting, mixed with the right cast, mixed with the right everything?
100%. Like, and it's just this, you can't describe it, I guess. It's like, it's it. When they say you've got it, it's this indescribable feeling, but it's a gut, it's an instinct. And yeah, when we watched the dailies, we were like, hey, this is actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a weird feeling.
Because now this is the second time we're talking. We did a Zoom interview a couple months back. Now we're actually in person. And when that trailer hit my feed on TikTok, I was like, what is this movie and why is it not out right now?
Yeah.
You cut the trailer yourself.
The first teaser I had a hand in, but it was done by a fabulous trailer maker. The next trailer we dropped at Comic-Con, I cut that one myself. And even going to Comic-Con was such a weird thing, because as an independent Aussie film, it just doesn't happen. We were the first ones ever to get invited to do Ballroom 20, which was when I walked in there to do the tech check, and there's like 5,000 seats. It's like, it's another indescribable moment where I'm like, oh my God, like, how are we gonna, we've done one teaser trailer and we're here at Comic-Con. This is not a sequel, it's not a reboot, it's not a remake, it's literally an original idea that hasn't really been done. Dinosaurs in Vietnam. There's never been a mashup like that. And then I'm walking into this ballroom and I'm like, what the hell? And then the next day we were at the event, and we're out in the back room with the cast, and Tricia is getting texts being like, oh, my panel, she's got friends there obviously because she's done it a million times at Comic-Con, with all her Battlestar things, and she's getting texts saying, this was the capacity of my room, and we've got other actors that were telling me it's okay, like whatever happens, and the attendance apparently was down. There was no Marvel or Star Wars and all, even though for me it was amazing. But then to walk out on stage and it was like standing room only in this ballroom, and people kept coming in, and I was like, this is just crazy that this movie is resonating in a way it is.
When you take on the task of making a dinosaur movie in today's age as an independent filmmaker, what are the biggest challenges for you?
Give the people what they want. To give the promise of the premise. As much as filmmakers love to say they, it's making it for me, and as long as I'm happy with the film, which I am. It's a big swing. It's when I went in for this, I was like, it's going to be a big swing, and it's either going to work or it won't. Some people won't like it. Some people will be like, this is just, cheesy, campy B stuff because dinosaurs in Vietnam sounds ridiculous. But I went into it going, let's make it as kind of grounded as we can, with the military aspects and the Vietnam, which I think again resonates in the trailer, and then introduce these dinosaurs and just swing for the fences, and give people what they haven't seen before, and give people what they want. Like if they want to see dinosaurs fighting soldiers, if you see the trailer and you go, I want to see dinosaurs fighting soldiers, I give you dinosaurs fighting soldiers. Yeah.
You had a military advisor on set.
I did.
What is he looking for to make sure the way that people are carrying everything, they're carrying themselves, is accurate to what it should be?
Yeah. He's there to make sure that it's 100% accurate. I had Captain Dale Dye, who did Saving Private Ryan. He co-wrote Platoon. He's.
Oh, he co-wrote Platoon.
He co-wrote Platoon, so he looked over the script for me. I would like to say that we're friends. We've worked together a couple of times, so I reached out to him and said, "Hey, I've got this crazy script," and he's a Vietnam veteran himself, so I wanted to make sure again, I'm not like out there being like, this is just a corny thing, because I want you to look at it and make it look real, and make sure a Vietnam vet could look at this and go, yeah, I guess you could believe this is a real thing. So he gave me lots of advice, and he helped me with the script. And then unfortunately he's retired these days, and he's an amazing guy. I can't speak highly enough of Captain Dye. But I did get someone who's worked with him, and he's then gone off and done his own shows called Freddie Joe Farnsworth, and he's done Brad Pitt, and he's done lots of different shows around Hollywood. So he came over to Australia and just whipped the guys into shape, and was there every day with me, and it was great because I was able to say, look, I'm focused on as an indie film. I got 8, 9, 10 different hats on set. Yeah,
I want to go into that too.
But so I was able to say to him, you go look after the cast. I need him to go and clear this building, or I need them to go and, take down that dinosaur over there. You go over there and tell him exactly how you would do it. And he's like, got it. And he would just go do it. And then I'd say action. I'm like, I love it.
Wow.
But that's just having the right people in the right places.
For someone who's watching this interview right now and they hear that you're a filmmaker, what tasks exactly are you doing? Because you wrote the script too, right?
On this particular job?
Yes, on this particular one, A Primitive War.
Yeah, so I adapted the book, so I wrote the script, and I directed it, which is great because that's my favorite part. But to get this film done in what we had, so I'm also the production designer, so I designed all the sets, and I was there every day before I directed, and building them and helping construction and setting the things, and this is what I wanted to look like, and so there was no one else, it was me. I was also the editor of the film. I'm also.
Did you cast?
I help. I help. The idea. So my wife is also my producer. All the hats I don't wear. Then I have a very small team around me who wear all the other hats. So she's the casting director. So she helped me cast, and she produced, and she's like the accountant, and she does all the other background stuff behind the scenes for me. So yeah, I was the director, the writer, the editor, the production designer. Now it's not coming. Now I'm going blank with what else I have to do. I also was the script continuity. There was no script continuity. It's all me on set doing all that. So
you're reading the script to make sure everything's
and watching the continuity and making sure nothing gets seen. Because before I became a director, I was a costume. I was in costume, so I handled all that stuff anyway. So I'm very au fait with how to make sure that works.
And when you were out there in the jungle, once you finished directing, you also had a set on the side where you can watch all the dailies back right away to make sure it was what you wanted?
Yeah, I had a small editing truck on set, so I could duck in there at lunch and check with the guys and watch some dailies, which I think was around the time we sort of knew it was starting to look pretty good, because I'd always see the cast sneaking a peek, and I'm like, hey, what are you guys doing? Watching my stuff. I like to keep it close to my chest, and they're like, man, this looks good.
Wow.
Which was great. But yeah, there's a bunch of other titles which are not coming to my mind that I have done on this movie, but they're sort of like the main ones. And also the visual effects producer, visual effects supervisor. Was a task I took on for this film as well. So I went and found all the guys to make the dinosaurs, which is an amazing team that I have. Again, very small. But I just started pounding the pavement straight after we finished, and just thought, how am I going to do this? We don't have ILM, we don't have these big companies, and I just got together this sort of team of an animator, a compositor. The guys who make the models of the dinosaurs, and then it grew out from there.
The models on the computer.
Yeah, the models on the computer. So I just grew out from there, and then now I have this team behind me of 100, 150 artists that just were amazing throughout the process. But it was still me every day running the whole show.
So Primitive War is considered an indie film. Have you...
It's so big.
It sounds insane.
It sounds insane. Every time I say it, I'm like... And touching on that, it's such a hard perception of how we've been talking a lot of how do we present it, because when people hear independent film, there's a perception it's independent.
But the trailer says the opposite.
But the trailer says the opposite, so it's a very hard line, because if someone does it like a Nora, the won the Oscar last year, as an independent film, a couple $1 million, and they go, wow, what an amazing film. But someone does it with dinosaurs, you kind of go, is it going to be good? So it's that hard perception.
How many days did it take you to film a movie?
Well, originally I asked for $25 million and 6 months to film, and I got, a couple of bucks in 6 weeks.
When you say you asked, you're just asking.
Just when I was pitching it in Hollywood a couple of years ago, because I got the rights in 2021
From the book adaptation.
From the book
Ethan.
adaptation from Ethan, and then I got I wrote it pretty quick because when I read the book, I really had in my mind's eye exactly how I would do it. You know what I mean? It's a good read, and also I could just go, these things will work, adaptation, and these ones might be, not work with the storyline I want to take, because it's, as with every book, you got to adapt it, because
Right.
you've only got 2 hours to tell a story. But yeah, so I wrote it pretty quickly, and then I pitched it around town here in Hollywood.
Can you say what studios you went to?
No, I'm not going to say that.
Okay.
No, just in case.
Okay, yeah.
For the future. But no, I pitched around town, and the feedback, was, you're not Steven Spielberg. How are you going to do dinosaurs? Which is, look, it's a valid question. People want to know, and people want to know. That's how Hollywood works, right? You do one, and they go, oh, that makes sense. You're the alien guy, or you're the dinosaur guy, or you're this guy. They love to pigeonhole you in a thing for a reason, because then it makes them feel safe that you can handle it. But I knew I could do it, and so I pitched it. Nothing happened, and then I came back from another premiere, and I just said, screw it, let's just do it ourselves independently.
And then you independently raised the money from who?
Just friends and family, and then a really close knit of really amazing private backers that just saw what I was trying to do and just backed me the whole way. So big shout out to those guys if they're listening.
Very cool. Yeah, thank you guys.
Yeah.
How do you get it into theaters? Because there's an AMC here at Universal City Walk here in Hollywood, I think it's Hollywood. They have your poster out there, but if it's independent, how do you get into movie theaters over here?
That's another big hurdle, which again I've had to handle, and there's no title for that. I guess it's just the executive producer title, which is another one. Again, I'm going to keep adding as I go through. And another one is the
And promoter.
Was the EP and the producer. I also produced it with my family, and then I'm also the EP. So that all takes on that life after the show of how do you get it to the audience. So again, I pitched it around. I had a sizzle reel and we were doing the effects, pitched it around. But I've done, again, 7 films, so I kind of know how the system works a little bit. And I was very conscious of this film of just not just getting the first deal or just getting a terrible deal, because it's very easy to fall in that trap of going, hey, we've got someone that's interested, let's sell it for a little bit and then see what happens. And it gets dumped on VOD, or it gets, just lost in the ether, and you never, then you go, well, that's it. That they've sold the rights. And so I've kept the rights this whole time myself. Wow. So I'm kind of almost self-releasing it in a way where we're running the entire show still, which is still a good feeling, because I feel like the safest hands are still my own in a way. But we found a company called Fathom. Well, not found, but obviously they do events and they do entertainment and they do amazing stuff.
They're before all the AMC.
Yeah. So I talked to them as much as people were pitching me to buy it, and then they got in touch. And they're just amazing people to work with. They're fans themselves, and I felt connection straight away, because they get excited, and I get excited about things. So when someone's sitting there going, "Well, Mr. Sparke," and they start talking about numbers and things, I'm like, "This isn't creative." This, I mean, and I get there's that part of the business. But these guys were excited, and they pitched me how we could get it out there, with me still controlling it and then releasing it. So we did the deal with them, and it's been, I hope it's going to go well. You know what I mean? And they got me all the cinemas, because they're connected with AMC. Without going too much into it. But
how many cinemas are there that you can watch it here in America?
It's heading up towards the 1,000 mark.
Wow.
Yeah.
AMC's and other
Regal, Cinemark, all those sort of main ones that deal with Fathom, which is great. And then some independent ones has also reached out and booked it, and it's all like every film. This one film definitely, it will sort of live and die on its opening weekend. So if it goes well on its opening weekend, we can expand out to even more screens.
Oh,
so
wow.
That's what we would love to do, is expand and see it sort of take a life of its own, and people sort of find it, discover it, get behind it. So that's kind of the hope.
For you as a filmmaker, producer, director, everything on this project, are you only thinking in this week now, or do you have plans like, okay, we got to get on to demand in a month, we have to do...
Yeah.
You think that far ahead?
All that's coming up, yeah. I've been thinking about this week first, but yeah, then we got to think about how we're going to get out to the rest of the world and the rest of the people. So that all is part and parcel of executive producing.
Because like once it gets to here, and if it does this way, then we go that way. But if it does this way, then we go this way. Something like that.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, again, it's like it's a lot of work and a lot of brain power and processing to figure it out. But I think it's going to go well. We've shown it twice in Australia now, two premieres down under, and the reception's been good. The reception's been great. It's been great. I think people are very surprised by it, is what I keep hearing. They're like, oh my God, it's a lot of stuff for 2 hours. And it's funny because like I also help run the social media, like I'm across all that. So if anyone does comments, I will see them. And it's funny because like, I'm a fan myself of Star Wars and Aliens and other franchises. So I grew up on these chat boards or forums back in the day before there was social media, and would always be texting and having conversations about movies and breaking it down. Now I see people doing it about this movie, especially book fans or even people who haven't read the book. I wonder what dinosaurs will be in it. Oh, I saw some comment this morning going, I bet you they've shown all the good stuff in the trailers and there's nothing left to see. And I'm like, nope. But it's just funny to see it myself, and I know the whole thing, and I've seen the whole from where to go, because I don't like in movies when they give away too much in trailers and clips. And as much as everyone's been asking me, cut clips and we'll put them on Entertainment Tonight, I'm like, no, I'm not really showing anything. So again, it's all through my hands. You know what I mean? Like I get to be the final say, which is a good feeling because I kind of think I know what to do.
Is it crazy that shows like Entertainment Tonight want to put your independent film on there?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it becomes that life of its own. And I think it's happened since the teaser Comic-Con. Now it's kind of just like, now almost kind of like a mini studio production. What it feels like when you look at the Hollywood Reporter and having podcasts and doing everything else, it feels like a little mini studio film when it's not.
Does that happen because the trailer did so well upon the release?
I think so. I think it went well and people just resonated and it just looks good. Yeah. It's hard to talk about myself. I'm never usually this open with it because I'm very much I did it, so I don't want to talk about it. But you kind of got to put yourself out there. So.
Yeah. How do you decide what dinosaurs to put in the movie? Because in Primitive War, there are different species, so you have to narrow down what you want. How do you know what they look like? Are you just following the drafts of what Ethan drew in the book? Yeah.
We tried to follow as much as he could in the comic because that's what really got me involved, was seeing the comic cover of the Utah Raptor jumping on a soldier. So I kept the Utah Raptors pretty close to their counterparts. And then there's some dinosaurs in the book that I just couldn't fit, unfortunately. So I'd love to put them in maybe a sequel. And then, it's just deciding which ones in the story would make sense. And also then the budget as well of how we're going to create this many dinosaurs on the budget that we had. But I kept pushing.
What's the... Well, I'll go into that after. Do the dinosaurs have feathers in your movie?
Yes, the dinosaurs have feathers. And that was something that I wanted to do because of the book and the comic and everything, to make them look like their counterparts and also make them look like what kind of paleontology thinks they look like now, but also keeping with Ethan's book. So it's that fine line, and then adding a little bit of my own influence. Because you have to add your own influence. Because again, this might be the only dinosaur film I get to make. I always try to think like that. I always try to think this might be the only film. This might be the only time on this podcast with you. Might be the only time at San Diego Comic-Con. I don't take anything for granted. You know what I mean? Because it's been a long road to get here. Who knows what's going to happen, right? So I'm always like, this is the only time I might make a dinosaur movie. I have to put my stamp on it. So let's go paleontology, let's go Ethan's book, and let's go a little bit Luke Sparke. So people go, that's the Primitive War design, T-Rex, whatever.
The one image that went crazy viral was the 3 raptors with the knife in the eye.
Yeah.
Was that a difficult decision for you to release to the public? Did you want to save that?
Particular shot? Yeah, it was. That was the shot that we had the most conversation back and forth in that first teaser trailer. How much do we show? How much do we don't show? I wanted to show it, and I'm always the guy saying don't show it. I'm like, I love the J.J. Abrams mystery box approach with not showing too much. That's why the next trailer doesn't really have much of the story. Is kind of just like dinosaurs fighting people. That's but that one I'm the one that pushed for that, because I'm like, we have to show them something. We got to show people that there's something cool in here. So yeah,
that's what hooked my attention.
yeah, I did that.
Yeah. Wow. Do you have a paleontologist that you consult with this stuff, similar to how you have the military advisor?
Yeah, I had a couple that they didn't come out to set because they were American. A couple I just emailed and just had a sort of conversation back and forth. A few of them in Montana and Utah and that. So, just get a little advice. But mainly copying the book story, because I didn't want to go didn't have another on top of everything else to be like, and then they would be like this. And I'm like, okay, well, I need them to do this because of the story, so we'll just do that.
Right. Being a fan of Entourage, what was it like working with Jeremy Piven?
I love Entourage. I can't deny it. I love it. I watched it. I was actually watching it when I was working on some other big shows like The Pacific. It was on around that same time on HBO, and I was working on HBO's The Pacific. So a lot of people were talking about it on there. But yeah, working with Jeremy was great. I mean, it's what I wanted. I wanted to bring in that sense of his energy into the scenes. I didn't want just another sort of stuck up military colonel, which would be correct. But I just wanted this flavor, and Jeremy brings that flavor to it. And it was great having him there. And as soon as I said action, he brought that energy, and we would sort of, every actor is different. Some actors like the action, cut, let's go again. Other people like Jeremy, we're a bit more loose and a bit more like, hey, I'm just going to say action, and let's just run 3-4 takes together, and let's just keep it going. You know what I mean? Get the energy in the room. So by the time take 2, 3, 4 comes around, and we're all together, it's like, hey, we're getting some good stuff. This is some cool stuff that you might miss that magic if you kind of action, cut, go again. Everyone has a break. Everyone has a drink. But to keep it going, that's where I think some of the magic happens.
What do you think your specialty is when directing an actor for an intense scene?
My specialty?
Yeah.
Finding the magic. That's kind of, it's my biggest thing, is just allowing them the leash. You know what I mean? I'm really sort of, my creativity is more everywhere else, watching the props, watching the backgrounds, watching where the shots, where the dinosaurs are going to be. And with the actors, I sort of give them a lot of space to find themselves. And I'll step in if I go, okay, we need more or we need less. But, usually I'm like, you do you, and I'll see how it goes, and then we'll go from there. So for me, it's giving them the leash.
Right. Jeremy Piven called you the Australian Steven Spielberg.
I saw that.
Is that a crazy compliment for you? Because taking on such a giant task in an independent film for this is really, really crazy.
It is very crazy, and to see it and to read it, and it caught on, the last week or so, his statement. So I've been contacted by a lot of people about it. It's cool. It's obviously a moment you go, wow, that's awesome. I don't want to be I want to have tickets on myself, but like I can see why he would say it and why it would catch on, because it's a dinosaur movie. And look, I absolutely love Steven Spielberg. He is one of my idols. I guess when you watch some of my trailers in the movies, you kind of see it in there. So it's an ultimate compliment to me.
What's the most expensive filming day?
The most expensive filming day on this movie?
Yes. On Primitive War.
They were all pretty expensive, for our budget for an indie film. The days when we're on the boat, I guess you see in the trailer, there's a whole boat scene, and that was pretty expensive. And towards the end of the movie, which hasn't really been revealed in the trailers much, but there's a facility and lots of troops and soldiers running around. All that stuff starts adding to the budget. But because it's all kind of set in the jungle, it's one of those things where I knew I could do it, because it's not like it's every day in a cities and thousands of people and the Avengers or something. They was all kind of like, once they're in the jungle with these 7 dudes, it's like they're there. And Australia we have all these awesome jungles down the road from where I live, so I knew it was achievable on the budget. But yeah, once you start getting into like hundreds of extras and boats and tanks and everything else, it starts definitely raising the budget. I think at the beginning of the movie we have like a village, a Vietnam village, and in the book and in the script at least, it was just like a few troops, milling around a few buildings and whatever. And I'm adding in like tanks and helicopters, and because I'm just like, let's just go big, let's just swing for the fences. And also as a when I'm the production designer and the director and everything else, I kind of have a final say over it. So when I come across things, I came across a gentleman who had all these tanks and helicopters that I didn't even realize, like an hour or so away from where I live. And it's where you go in. It's where you go. And I've been on other shows, like some other bigger military shows before I became a director, where they go, oh, well, that tank is actually 1948 and we're 1946, or no, the other way around, whatever it is, and you can't really use it. Where I go and I'm like, we can make this work. What we'll do is we'll change it this way and do this, but it's the production value becomes exponential. You know what I mean? So once I saw this whole thing, I'm like, we're taking all of these. We're going to put them all in the movie. And everyone's like, but not in the script. I'm like, no, we're going to put them in. So it's finding, again, you just go, that's magic. I didn't expect that. So you're finding these things along the way and you have to just roll with the punches.
Did you go over budget for the movie?
Did I go over the budget? Probably. I mean, probably. I definitely pushed it as much as I possibly can. You know? And then that was the shooting portion. And then it was always, we said, because people asked me, how are we going to do the dinosaurs? Even my own crew. When I sat down and said, let's do it. They're like,
did you have an idea even once you finished, you knew what you were going to do?
Yes.
Or you don't figure that out in post? You have that vision right away?
I had the vision right away. So I shot it knowing that I'm going to do it, but it's how to achieve that is always the next question. So we shot it for the budget we had. And then over the last 18 months, we've been then sort of adding to the budget every couple of months to like push it forward to go, let's get this scene right. Let's make sure the dinosaurs look good and everything else. So yeah, it's been interesting.
What's the runtime on the movie?
2 hours 15.
2 hours 15 minutes. Wow.
Which is the exact same as the latest dinosaur movie that came out.
Other dinosaur movies in the ether now.
Yeah, the one that came out recently.
Okay. How much of that is special effects with dinosaurs? Because does that make
the runtime? How much is it with dinosaurs in the runtime?
Yeah.
A lot.
And that's the most costly part, right?
Yeah.
Doing all the effects.
Yeah. Once the dinosaurs arrive, I think every 5 minutes there's something to do with dinosaurs.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's no like 45 minutes go by where it's like, let's do the drama. And again, I see the online comments and a lot of people are expecting that. They go, oh, well, I'm sure it'll be like, one dinosaur in the bush and then drama for half an hour. It's not going to happen. Not this movie.
For a movie director like you, what is the night before the release going to be like?
Because
we're 6 days away, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it comes out August 21st.
Yep.
Today's August 15th.
Yep.
So 6 days away.
Yep.
What are you feeling now?
A couple of days away from our premiere as well on the 18th.
Here in America.
In LA, yeah. It's kind of like Christmas Eve. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of, I've always said it's kind of like Christmas Eve. It's that when you're a kid, it's that nervous excitement and trepidation. You know what I mean? Of like, am I going to get the gift that I want under the tree? It's kind of like, is this going to land? Are people going to like it? Is it going to expand out? Is it going to catch on? Who knows? You know what I mean? It's all in the hands of everybody else.
What does it take for you to do a sequel of Primitive War?
The opening weekend be good. You know what I mean? Probably not. Like, that's probably me just being facetious. But, obviously it would really help. But I think this movie will have legs on VOD. And I think it's a great streaming movie. Sit back and watch it for 2 hours and it's engaging. That's for sure. So I think it just needs to go well, obviously. It just needs to go a little well.
Right.
Enough to get talking points to get me a sequel.
Can you explain to me how when you have a movie and it's done its time in the movie theater, does Amazon Prime reach out to you and say, we want to put this on for 6 months? And then Peacock's like, no, we want it for a year. And then you make the decision on where you want to put it?
I've never had that yet, so I can't really talk about it. I think that's how it could happen. Yeah, who knows? Like I think it's going to be just how it goes in cinemas, and then there might be a fight between the two. Like there's definitely offers on the table now. I had a call yesterday with my team, and they're like, look, there's people biting at my ankles to get a hold of this film, but again, it's just got to be for me the right deal that makes sense. Yeah, and they're even going to get me in the room now with some of these offers, so I can talk to them face to face to be like, how are you going to do this for my movie? You know what I mean? Like, explain to me.
Wow.
Because I've just we worked so hard in this movie. You know what I mean? Like, and it's kind of like, it's a bit of an outlier. Where people go, they love to have their numbers, right? They go, well, if you have an A-list actor and you have this and you have that, then it's going to do this much and we'll buy it for this. But if you do this, it's going to be a straight to VOD movie. But we're kind of like in this zone where it's kind of like, no one knows, because dinosaur films don't come out that much, so no one knows how it's going to go. So it's very interesting. When
you're filming a actual scene with the dinosaurs, do you have puppets on the other side so that the actors can interact with them?
I used every trick in the book that I could on the budget that we had. So yes, there was a couple of times where we had puppets of the Utah Raptors, and that was really cool. That was more when we were in the the facility. There's some in the trailer, some shots in the trailer in the facility because we're able to get it onto flat ground, the puppets. But most of the time we were shooting up in the jungles, in ravines and canyons and crazy locations that I pushed the crew to walk through again on a very small team.
And are they lugging all that equipment through?
Yes.
I mean, yeah, they have to, right?
They have
Who else
to
would do it?
they have to, yes. And then we had this big monsoon come in one week, and it just turned to mud, and everything was just terrible, and we couldn't get our trucks up the hill. And luckily, the gentleman with all the tanks and that, he had all this military equipment, so we quickly reined him. And as a producer, you can go turn that into sort of how you're going to make that happen. So my producers, Carmel and Carly, they got on the phone and worked with Alex, my first AD, who's also wearing multiple hats, and he's also visual effects and everything else. And we got on the phone and got the military equipment in to actually get up the hills to get where we needed to go, but we could only take like 2 people at a time and like only a little bit of equipment. So it's a whole nightmare of logistics that come into it. There was some of our crew were like, well, we should just pack up and go somewhere else. And so there's all these questions and answers you got to sort of think on your feet. And we said, no, we're going to go, how about we change this scene to over there? While we're doing that scene, we get the things up the hill and we'll get there later. And then we're going to go down to the waterfall and do that. And so it was this whole logistical nightmare.
How does it work with permitting there in Australia? Can you just, since you're in the jungle, can you kind of just adjust wherever?
For permits?
Yeah, is that a thing there?
I mean, it's a thing. Luckily, most of the stuff we were shooting on was private property. You know what I mean? So guys who owned, there was one gentleman that had, a big cow. I think his thing was cows. But at the back of his property was just this amazing jungle hill that he's like, it's a jungle. You know what I mean? You can go back there and do whatever you want. So location scouting took us a while to find these places. But, I've worked on some other films that have been around in those same zones because I could sort of go, oh, let's go to Palm Grove for that scene and there was a couple more we had to find. So we found his place, which was really great.
What kind of cameras do you shoot on?
What kind of cameras? It was the RE Alexas, the large format Alexas, and then we used vintage lenses on them to give a bit more of like a Vietnam old school anamorphic feel. So it has that sort of quasi platoon. So it's not just so sharp and slick because a lot of the productions in Hollywood, is very slick. Which is great. Superman and the other dinosaur movies that have come out, it's all very slick, awesome. So I wanted to lean in the complete opposite way to go. We're the grungy cousin. We're the rock and roll cousin is what I keep saying to this movie, to the other franchises that are out there. We're kind of like the rock and roll cousin. So even the camera choices and the camera lenses is a bit more like it's grungy.
What were the toughest decisions that you had to make while filming?
For
example, the monsoon.
Yeah, apart from all the logistical stuff, I think some of the early ideas is I wanted to do it slick. I wanted to have cranes and all these awesome toys that they use because to get the shots in my head that I wanted. We'll have this camera crane sweeping around and come back around this way. And the budget's just like, no, you can do that, but then you're going to miss out on all this other stuff. So the decision I made to make it grungy and to make it sort of more handheld, where it's almost like a Saving Private Ryan platoon feel in the war, that then leads on to after effects, because then suddenly we're like, okay, now we're going to do a handheld camera in a valley with dinosaurs behind them. So then all the animators are like, so we have to do it handheld. We're not doing it nice camera, cranes where we can put the dinosaurs in. Now it's all cameras doing this.
And the
dinosaurs are in the background moving. So it all affects decisions that affect everything else. And that was a hard choice because they were like, are you really going to do this? You're really going to make me do this with the dinosaurs? I'm like, yeah, it'd be cool. And the feathers as well. A lot of people were like, don't do feathers because they're very difficult to do in the animation, and it was very difficult to do, but I'm glad we did them. But that was a tough choice to do.
Can you talk about the sound design of your dinosaurs?
Yeah.
How do you figure out the noises that they're making?
That's a good question. And again, I've got this one amazing sound dude, kind of like me. He's just a one-man band, so he's done it all. When you watch this movie, it's Chris Goods here in LA. He's an Australian that moved to LA.
Luke, I'm so excited for this.
Yeah, he's trying to move to LA, so we just got to just me and him. There was no big corporate team or big discussion. It was just me and him just working it out together. And there's been stuff online about how dinosaurs sounded. I know there's like a famous YouTube clip out there of like the dinosaurs could sound like this and they kind of sound like big ducks and all this kind of stuff, and we listened to it and I'm like, I mean, how do we really know, right? I mean, how do we really know what a dinosaur sounds like? I'm sure out there somewhere some paleontologist is like, I know exactly.
Do you know Colossal Sciences?
No, I don't.
They brought back the dire wolf. Have you heard about that?
Yes, I have heard about
Eventually, maybe they'll do a dinosaur and then we'll hear it.
Maybe, exactly. And then everything could be wrong.
Everything could be
and all
wrong.
these movies and everything I'm doing, right? So, it's hard to say. There's that fine line where people go, it's not a documentary, it's a movie. And I don't like that saying so much in my career because I think you should try to, at least, if you're going to do it, try to do it right? But again, with my own ideas in it. So, we got together and he just came up with a whole bunch of different ideas and put lots of different animals. We used a lot of birds because the Utah raptors eventually we think evolved into birds, all that Dromaeosaurus family of raptors and everything else, So we used a lot of birds as a base and then sort of worked on a bit more base around them to have that sort of feeling because they're bigger, or we looked at like goannas or crocodiles and be like, imagine, or a Komodo dragon sound, and imagine that, extrapolated to a T-Rex. How would that feel on a massive creature, from this creature to a massive creature?
Right.
So we worked on a lot of that. That's all you can really do, right? Base it on some sort of science and some sort of, these are reptiles, they're birds, and then to use that to launch pad into something else. And in the final trailer, there's 2 T-Rexes at the end, the father and the mother, the Rex. So we wanted to, again, make them very different. So they have 2 distinct sounds and 2 distinct roars. It's all this kind of really nerdy film stuff that gets to go into it, and I hope people pick up on it.
I'm sure they are.
Yeah, I mean the Sydney premiere, a lot of people said, I can't believe you've made us feel something for 2 Tyrannosaurus Rexes, because there's this kind of storyline in there with the 2 of them, and I was really pushing it in the edit to try to see if it landed. And in Sydney, everyone said, I can't believe you made us feel something for the dinosaurs. I'm like, well, that's good. That's something.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah.
Are there flying dinosaurs in the movie?
Yes.
Are those hard to animate and create?
Yes. Everything's hard. But yeah, there obviously has another level, and we actually redid those scenes twice because the first
in post
because the first time, the film was going to be one thing, and now it's turning into something else. So again, when we started watching the dailies and we started doing that, some of the early models that we had, we were like, well, this is what we'll do, and this is what the movie will be because this is our budget. And then when we saw, I think there's a T-Rex sequence where he's chasing the guys. And once that was all final, we were like, oh my God. We were like, this is actually really cool. And then I went back and watched the flying dinosaur scene. And I'm like, this doesn't match. So I had to pretty much scrap it and start again from scratch. Oh, wow. Yeah.
Is that that's lost budget then?
Yeah. It was very disappointing on this scale film, you know what I mean? To have to stand there and everyone's like, we could do it. What do you think? And it comes down to me, and I was like, scrap it.
Wow.
Because there's no point, right? Like, you got to swing for the fence, you got to make it good. So we scrapped it and started all over again.
What kind of weaponry do you use?
Weaponry in the movie.
Yeah. Is it all from Vietnam War?
Yeah. It's all authentic Vietnam. We had a great armorer, and he was there every day, who worked with the military advisor. And again, everyone's got their own little nerd sections of all the people on set, right? You got the camera nerds, you got the lighting nerds,
So
because
true.
everyone's like their own, and which is great because they're so passionate.
The sound design guys.
The sound design guys.
Listen to this.
So the armorer nerd, you know what I mean? So it's like, we're talking about, you go over talking to him and he's talking about the M203s and the what version of the M16 was used at this particular time of the war and what kind of Colt 45s and the AK-47s, and he'd come out and he's like, I got this extra special AK that's got like a folding stock and you can use this in a scene. And I'm like, great, I love it. Like, and that's the sort of stuff I used to do on set as a costumer. I used to be right near the director and go, hey, I've actually got we're in a trench in World War I, I've actually got some German armor or a German mace. I remember one day I was like, I've got this like original German mace that they use in trench. He's like, I love it, let's get it in, because if no one tells the director, they're just going to be like, this is what I got. Like, so I'll always be there. So I tell my team all the time, like, come and ask me anything. If you got some nerdy thing or some crazy idea, tell me. And I'll be like, let's get it on screen. Let's go.
You are the king of decisions, being the director. So everyone's just throwing things at you. Like, do you want this like this? Yeah. Hey, should we do this at 3:00? Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that overwhelming?
Well, you have to get used to it, and that's kind of your job, right? Like, and luckily, as a director, you kind of have to love it. Otherwise, you'd be crazy. You know what I mean? So I do love it. I love being there and just, working it all out and telling people, where to go and what to do and how I want it. So yeah, the armory, we used all authentic weapons, and that's cool. And then the costume design as well, I think in this film is like really, really well done, because everyone's got their own distinct style. Everyone's like, you think in Vietnam everyone's just wearing green, and you could do that, but the costume designer Tracy, she really worked hard on like making sure everyone's got their own style, so when you watch the film, everyone's different enough. We pulled out some original Vietnam jackets and pants and helmets. They're all real. They're all original. So yeah, it's been really, really cool.
How long ago did you start the production filming of this movie?
We started in April last year.
April last year. When did you find out that there was another dinosaur movie coming out being released this year? Did that stump you?
That really sucked.
Did it?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's all worked out. But at the time, I think we were like 2-3 weeks into our production. Like, how would I know? You know what I mean? And yeah, I was like, man. You know what I mean? Like, and we're like, at the time, we're just like, well, okay, we just got to go. I had like one sort of thought. And I was like, all right, don't worry about it. And then what really kind of sucked was early this year when the Dinosaur film dropped their trailer, and there's like Spinosauruses in the water and there's all this stuff, and I'm like, oh no.
Because you had a Spinosaurus in the water?
Yeah, we did. And the funny part is, in the book, it's a different dinosaur. In the book, it's a Caprisuchus, which is like a big not giant, but a big crocodile, like a bull crocodile that sort of walked a bit higher than like normal crocodile does now.
Are those bigger than regular crocodiles?
I don't think that. I think they're bigger, but some of our saltwater crocodiles in Australia are kind of similar in a way. But that was the problem. We had it prevised, which is the early version you do of the visual effects. The first thing I do is previs out the dinosaurs, which is like a really basic looking thing. When people watch it, they're like, "Is this the film?" I'm like, "No, this is previs. Don't freak out." Because then from there we just get the sense of what's happening in the shot,
the space and composition.
Yeah, and then we can send it on to the animators who then watch that and go, "Okay, that's kind of what you wanted," and they'll do their own thing on top. Anyway, we had the previs out of the Caprisuchus scene on the boat, and people watched it, and the feed, because I always love having people come and see it. It's kind of like a test screening. In Hollywood, they love their test screenings, and I don't really like full test screenings, but I have enough where I have people come and see it to be like, is it working? Do you understand what's going on? And the main feedback from the first screening was people go, oh, they're just big crocodiles. I've seen that before. I've seen Lake Placid. I've seen, Crawl. I've seen crocodile movies. We should do more dinosaurs. And I was like, it's a pretty good note. You know what I mean? So I said, all right, let's change it. As much as I think they're cool, and I love to put the Caprisuchus in a sequel and whatever. But for this particular one, I was like, that's a cool note. So then I changed it to Spinosauruses. And then this trailer comes out from this other movie, and there's Spinosaurus in the water. And I was like, man. Yeah. But, hopefully it all works out, because we hadn't seen Spinosaurus for a while.
Right.
Since the other one back in like 2001 or something, the other dinosaur movie, and I was like, let's bring the Spinosaurus back, and we'll have the fins coming out of the water, and it'll be really cool. And then this other trailer comes out, and there's fins coming out of the water, and I was like,
it's really cool.
I was like, Anyway, luckily it's a small part of our film.
Do you have little mini dinosaurs too?
Yeah, we've got I think the smallest ones we have is the Deinonychus, which is like the same family as the raptor, and it's like a smaller version.
Were you a dinosaur expert before taking on this movie?
I wouldn't say an expert,
but you knew a lot of species.
I'm a dinosaur lover. You know what I mean? There's a great story that when I was in kindergarten back in like 1990. I was in kindergarten, and for show and tell, I brought a whole bunch of these like really old school, because the 80s dinosaurs before JP came out. So it was like the T-Rex had the tail on the ground. It was all kind of different to what we know now. But I brought a whole bunch to school, and my teacher, Mrs. Duff, liked it so much that she made me go around the entire school and show the same show and tell to every class of all these dinosaurs. So I've always loved dinosaurs.
Wow.
Yeah. Land Before Time.
Love that movie.
Yeah.
Did you have an approach of how you wanted to make sure that war and the dinosaurs and sci-fi and horror all blended together? Because you're combining a lot of different genres per se.
Even as you say it, that sounds crazy, right?
It does. It's a really big thing to chew on.
Yeah.
Was that hard to find the balance of keeping all of those throughout the whole film?
It was, because you could make this film one particular way. Like if you just went horror, it would be one thing, right? But I didn't really, as much as there's horror elements in there, and there's some crazy scenes where you're like, ooh. I didn't want the whole film to feel like some sort of crazy horror or a sort of a elevated A24 movie. Like it's very much is what it is, right? It's dinosaurs versus soldiers. So at some point you have to go, that's what I want to tell. But yeah, it's a fine line to work all that out. And the military aspect alone, I wanted to make sure that, again, like I said, we respected the military, because it's a real conflict. People really obviously died in this movie, so in the war. So that was something I really wanted to make sure I worked on, and kept it sort of true to as much as I could to veterans.
What was it like when you had dinosaurs eating people? How do you film those kind of shots?
Yeah, for those shots, I don't want to reveal too much before the movie, but for those shots,
Maybe more on the director side. Like, how do you make that happen?
Yeah, how to make that happen? It was you got to get the actors into their headspace. You know what I mean? And luckily, the actors that were doing that do get eaten, they obviously had a lot of preparation for it. So we had a lot of conversations about how that's going to work and how we're going to do it and how they're going to be and feel. And I think they did a really great job. But for that one, we kind of had lots of different mocap ideas, and we had sort of guys in mocap stuff because I wanted to make it feel like shit was happening.
And are the guys the dinosaurs? They're playing dinosaurs?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
So crazy.
Yeah.
When you got the dailies back and you're looking at it, did you feel there was something special about it?
Yeah, 100%. I think there's every day I was like, this is really good. You know what I mean? Like, this is, again, for what we were doing. It's hard to look in the perspective of the world, but for what we were doing, I'm like, man, I think we're pulling this off. You know, like, yeah, 100%.
Who would you say this movie is for fans of? Like Platoon. What else would it?
Yeah, I think there's a certain cohort of people that maybe they're our age that watched maybe The Land Before Time or the early dinosaur movies in the 90s, who have grown up and matured and kind of maybe want those movies to mature with them, but maybe they're not getting what they want because it keeps reverting back to, toys and kids and everything else. And I think there's definitely, and that's cool. I have no problem with that at all, right? Because I love those movies too, Spielberg, the first Jurassic Park is like maybe my second favorite movie of all time. I saw it when I was 9 years old. It was a huge impression on me to be a director, him and George Lucas. But I think there's a certain group of my age that would go, I would love to see adult dinosaur movies. And just like anything in life, when you're trying to advertise or make a product, if there's a gap in the market, that gap can get filled. And I feel like this fills that gap for people that you can watch those movies and you can watch this one and get two different things out of it. So I think there'll be a huge cohort of people my age who I hope go and see this movie that go, I've always wanted to see this, and this is filling that gap.
Have you seen it on the big screen yet?
Yeah, twice.
What was it like?
At the premieres.
Oh, you sat through them.
Yeah. I always sit through them. I sit through. I'll probably even duck into a cinema here in LA when it comes out and watch it with an audience because I always like to hear reactions and it's good to you see enough and then you go, oh, that one works because everyone reacts at that particular moment. It's always fun picking up times that scenes go for one audience or the other. Might be one line that in a premiere got nothing, and the next premiere, that's a funny line. I'm like, oh, okay, it didn't work for them, but it works for these people. It's very interesting to see that as a director, and I always like to plan for the next one and what works and what doesn't. But yeah, I've seen it twice on the big screen because this was like hot off the press. Like we worked this movie, like this movie killed me. Like we worked right up until the date for the delivery. I was like, what is the final date before you need in the cinemas? They're like, this date, which is like July 31st. And I even
so like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
you were still editing it up.
Yeah.
Wow.
Not editing. I was working on all the effects and the color grading and the sound mix and everything else. So, but yeah, we even blew past that date, and I was just like, I'm sorry, we're still going because we're like it's like me and Alex is my offsider in the edit room, and that's it. And then we have the visual effects guys, and we had like one color grader and one sound guy. So it was like really small team, and we just kind of blew past it. We're like, I'm sorry, we're just gonna get it right. If I give it to you now, it's what I mean. Like I'm not gonna do it. So we spent like the next last weekend. I think it was last weekend, the weekend before. Either way, it was like this massive weekend where none of us slept, and I mean that literally. Like none of us slept. And it was almost like one of those courtroom scenes where you see the guys walk around with their ties off, and they're like all tired. And it's like, okay, so this scene we got to get some more color, and it's like we're all tired and we want to go home, but we're here until it's done. And it was crazy. The craziest thing I've ever done. I was like, what are we doing? This movie better land. You know what I mean? Like,
how many times do you have to watch it in full to make sure a frame didn't drop out?
Yeah. So I had like Alex back at the studio, and I was up at color grading, and when we were watching it through, I had to read and be like, frame number 700 and thing that dropped out. Can you please repatch it? And he's like, okay.
Is this on an export, or is this on, is this the final export where you're watching it back?
Yeah. Yeah, so we were like had this whole tag team going on. We were like, this needs fixing. He'd send it, we'd patch it, and it just kept going around and around circles, watching again and again and again. It was probably not how they make films in Hollywood, but it was like, I'm like, this is how we're gonna do it. This is how we're gonna get this done.
Is it just one giant timeline?
Yeah, at that point it was. Yeah.
In what program?
Well, I cut on Final Cut. I cut this whole movie on Final Cut. I really enjoy Final Cut. Like, it's just a good operating system for me, right? But I think at that point in time, we'd put it into Resolve and then something else by then.
Are they making it in After Effects also?
No, we didn't really use After Effects that much in this one.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What a task.
It was crazy. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. Like, this movie is the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. Like, so a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. I know people say that, but there's literally in this movie like blood, sweat, and tears.
For fans of the book and Ethan, has he seen the movie yet?
No, he hasn't.
Wow. Is he going to the premiere?
Yes.
Very cool.
Yes, yeah. I like to keep things pretty close to my chest. So I know I've shared stuff with him. He's always, writing to me, and we have calls together and that. And he's like, "Can you show me what it looks like?" And I like to wait till it gets to like the last, a fully rendered shot. You know what I mean? And I showed him some stuff early, and he was very happy, which was good. I like to make people happy.
August 21st, the film comes out. If anyone goes to see it in theaters, is there one scene that you can let people know that was a really exciting scene for you to film that they can be on the lookout for without saying too much?
It's all pretty good. I mean, I really enjoy it. And the last two premieres I've sat through, I get lost in it myself. Like halfway through, I was like, I'm just watching it as a fan because I love dinosaurs, and this is the sort of movie I want to see. So a couple of times, look, when it gets to the end, it gets to the climax, like. I was sitting right next to the actor who plays Miller at the premiere. Miller, he's a really, really good actor and a really great character in it. And he was awesome because he was like doing all the reactions because he hadn't seen it before. He was like, oh damn, and he's like grabbing my arm. It was a good experience to do it with. And I got through the end of like this big sequence at the end with these two T-Rexes. He gets through that and he's like, wow, what an ending. And I turned to him, I'm like, that's not the ending. It's not over yet. And he's like, what? And when it gets to the ending, I haven't shown anything in the trailers, and it's my piece. Wow. So when it gets to the ending, I was like, I'm gonna take the ending and I'm gonna do something for me, and I'm gonna do it in a very different artistic way, and I'm really excited for people to see that.
Luke, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for making the time.
I have something for you too.
Oh, what is it?
It's a gift you can keep on your shelf here.
Okay.
It's a challenge coin.
Wow.
Primitive War official challenge coin.
This is awesome.
It's in the military, and a lot of people have these challenge coins they give out. So we've got an official Primitive War one.
This is sick. Thank you so much.
That's all right. You can keep it on your shelf.
I am. Luke, this is awesome. Guys, go see it August 21st. AMC, Regal.
Yeah. Look up all the times. It's all around. I really hope people go out and find it and like it, and we can expand out.
Luke, thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Cool. Bye, everybody. That was so good.